Welcome back, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm thrilled as we continue on day 3 of Softball America's Big Ten Media Days. And I'm so excited that we have head coach of Minnesota softball, Piper Ritter, on. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach.
Yes, thank you for having us, and exciting week as we start playing next week.
I know I was talking to everybody. We can't believe it's February 1st already. As you know, January seems to fly by in the world of college softball. And before you know it, you guys are heading on the plane and on your way to warmer weather. Tempe, Arizona for you guys. How excited are you to take the field with this group of women?
Yeah, it's another year for Gopher softball, and each year it brings fresh faces and people who come back with new experience and a little bit more chip on their shoulder. So we're excited to go down to Tempe, Arizona, and stop scrimmaging ourselves for once. I think our pitcher says, "I'm just ready to see someone else at the plate against me." So they're getting excited about it. I think they just want to compete against someone else other than themselves. So it's a good time.
I love that. And coach, when I think of Minnesota softball, there's really nobody who knows it better than yourself, being in the pitching coach position for 13 years and then now at the helm of it heading into your 4th season. How much has this meant to you to spend the last how many years calling Minnesota your home and this program your very own?
Yeah, I know nothing else. I really don't. For me, it's a lot of pride. Whether the girls or whether the student athletes get to go sit in the classrooms where I had classes, or we get to train in prettier and fancier new buildings and stuff, but they get to train the same way that I trained so many years ago. So for me, I love the starting of the year. I know exactly how they feel in the sense of they're ready to get the ball rolling. They're January. I've just had a lot more Januaries under my belt, but I know the same jitters that they feel. I know how excited they are to get on that plane and to go see a fresh team. And so it's nothing new for me, but it's always the same. And the one thing I can say is, I know nothing else. So it's definitely home for me.
And it's special for the players to be able to have somebody on the staff like you that they can really have those conversations with who have worn the uniform before them. And I know what a tradition Minnesota softball always celebrates. And I'm excited to talk about this team that you have here because you brought in 2 transfers, 4 first-year players. And I just want to start with the transfers because I think you got some gems personally. And I think one that has been overlooked so much is Presley, and coming from Cal Baptist and just what she brings to the circle. Last year, having well over 100 innings pitched, walking away with 13 wins. Pitching is what you know best. Why did you feel she was going to be such a good fit for this team?
Anytime I'm looking at anyone, whether they're younger, whether they're a transfer, it's like, do they do one thing elite, right? And the nice thing about transfers is you get to see them in the college setting. And so for her, her ball moves. She always kind of has a unique movement to it. It's just kind of honing it in and kind of developing her other pitches. So it's been really fun working with her. I think she knows who she is, and she knows what she does really well. And so for bringing her in, just kind of expanding her horizons and making her just a little bit better pitcher has been really fun. And then also she's a great mind for our other student athletes. I love sometimes bringing in transfers where they have a different perspective on things. And so, she comes from, like, they get a lot of things here. So I love her perspective and everything that she gets to experience and how new everything is, just from whether it's the weather or whether, it's just a different conference. She always brings a light.
I love when you talk about that new perspective that can always enhance a team. And the other one is just Margaret and coming from Kentucky. Now, it's really hard to fill the shoes of somebody like Sydney Strelo at second base and just the fire that she brought every single time she was on the field. But what about her game as well? Are you excited to see add to your team?
She's a great player to kind of fill in after Sydney. I think definitely Sydney was allowed is very boisterous in her competitive nature. But Margaret's the same. She's just a little bit more quiet natured, but I mean, she gets competitive. I would say just as much as Sydney over there at second base. Just it's just not as loud, and so it's been fun to watch her, and exciting to just watch her develop everything with the team.
And even getting to the 4 freshmen that you brought in, Natalie, I know, is somebody who you're gonna look at in the circle, but another face here at Top America that we're really excited about is just Jay. And in terms of her having such an incredible chance at starting even as early as February, what about her has she added? And you can speak on all 4 of the first-year players to this team and kind of the spark of energy they brought.
Yeah, I think Jay is very comfortable in the outfield. It's just getting her to get better reads and just get that college experience in the sense of where the balls go out there. She's learning every day at the plate, and so she's a very fun, mild mannered person. But I think she brings a lot to our outfield. The other person would be, I think, Cam Shard. She'll play a little bit behind the plate and also be at first base for us. And she's kind of a Minnesota homegrown kid, and you'll look to her because her bat is very loud, and so I'm excited to see what she can do. We have Tinley, and she's just kind of a Tinley Easton. She'll play a middle for us, and she's kind of a gritty little player and feisty little thing. So I'm excited to see her. And then we do have Natalie, and Natalie will definitely take some innings for us, and excited to see what she can do at college.
I love how you describe their personalities. And that's something I want to ask you more about this group of women that you've had. Of what have you really learned about them this fall and just how they've emerged in the off season?
I think any group of athletes, we bring them together, and we had quite a few new faces, whether they're transfers or freshmen. I think it took them a while. I think they were very quiet in the fall, just getting to know each other, and then we were very busy. We hit the ground running in the fall, so I think they're just kind of just trying to learn, whether it's school, whether it's softball, kind of learn the ins and outs, and then we kind of go down to our individual hours. Right around November. And I think that's the time when they really start to get to know each other. So when January rolled around, we did a lot of activities together as a team. And it was really fun to watch them. We didn't go on our training trip this year. We chose to stay home for a couple days and just train here and do a lot more activities together as a team. And we did these things called a sauna camp where we're saunas, and then you go and do a polar plunge out on the lake. It was pretty fun. And so we use it as kind of a hot cold, and kind of using it as rehab and just kind of recovery day. But our student athletes liked it. They kind of asked me when we're going to go again. I was like, well, we got to make some time to go all the way out there and do some polar plunges and go back into a sauna. But we got to spend a lot more time together, I think, this January, in the sense of we did outside activities a lot more than we did just playing the softball.
I mean, that's a credit to how tough they are, the fact that they want to jump back in that lake. So when they're complaining in March when you get to play at home, you're going to remind them the cold weather, the water they've already stood in.
Yep, absolutely. They enjoyed it. You also got to go run into a 150-degree sauna right after that. So you weren't cold too long, but I told them it was just kind of like ice baths.
It's all about balance. And you're talking about how they've come out of their shell slowly, and when it matters most, it's all about how you finish, never how you start. And you've been a part of so many championship programs here at Minnesota. What do you feel like it really takes from a team to just be that championship caliber? And how are you starting to see those tendencies within your own team this year?
Yeah, I think it's gonna take us to go out there and compete a little bit, to kind of see who we are really as a team. But I do think that you're right. It's never how you start; it's how you finish. And I think part of that is you have to be pushed, and you have to be, you have to be pushed every aspect of the season. It doesn't matter what it is; you have to be challenged and you have to be pushed. And so I'm excited to kind of see them and see them when they are challenged, whether it's a different team, whether it's a different adversity, whether, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm kind of excited to see what they do when we're out there and it gets hard.
And you talk about challenges, and I know the Big Ten is obviously expanding this year, and with that comes a lot of fun new challenges of just new series. And you guys have the opportunity to host one of the 3 new schools within Oregon. How much are you just looking forward to the conference expanding, more of a national attention, and being able to bring a top caliber program to your home stadium?
Yeah, I think I love home games. I'm not gonna lie. Anytime we get to have home games, it's exciting for us. And so, we're nothing new about expanding. Big Ten's been expanding for quite a bit. And I love every single time that they bring in new teams. So it's just an opportunity to have another rival against some other team and opportunity to be able to play them more than once, which is kind of why I love conferences is you get to play people multiple times and try to beat them. And so for me, it's nothing new. I mean, the Big Ten's been expanding for quite some time, and we're lucky that we get to have UCLA and Oregon and Washington in our conference. And I'm excited to have them part of the Big Ten and continue to play them.
You brought up how much you love playing at home, and I understand why. I fully have been there on the other side of playing at home, and your crowd, there's nothing like it. I personally think it's one of the most exciting and challenging places to play on the road because of how much your fans support you guys. What is that environment like? The fact that every single home game, you are having so many loyal, dedicated people cheering on your Gophers.
I think it's like again, I don't really know any different. I do think that the Minnesotans love to watch the Minnesotans play here, and so whether we're whether it's a rival team or whether it's a bye weekend where we get to play some other people, they'll definitely pack it, and it's an opportunity for them to come out and see softball. And a lot of times they don't necessarily get to see some of the sports, but the Minnesotans are hardy, and I think anytime they get a chance to go outside and see a sporting event, they want to, especially after a long winter when they've been cooped up. So I think that's why we get so many fans.
Yeah, and I can't blame them, especially with the level of softball and especially from two of the ladies who are about to come on. And I would just love to touch on both of them with you, starting with Sydney Schwartz and the way she already started to get put into big moments her first season. Obviously, I know last year, due to injury, she had to take a step back, but how excited are you to have her back on the field this season?
I am very excited. I think, unfortunately, she did have an injury last season, but she's been biting at the bit ever since this fall. I mean, she came back this fall, hit the ground running, and just excited to have that ball back in her hand. Whether she gets to hit a little bit, whether she gets to pitch, play a little defense. You love to watch them when they're excited to play softball, and that's what I got from Sid, especially in the fall when she came back after an injury. Just a new appreciation for the fact that she gets to do this, and she's excited to see what she can do.
And on the other side of that, just Taylor Kraft and everything she has been for you guys since wearing the Minnesota uniform, putting up double-digit home runs in both season that she's been there. What is it like to have somebody with her type of power in the lineup and just to see her work on her craft day in and day out?
Yeah, obviously she's a great hitter, and it's usually anytime there's a great hitter, it's always managing the highs and lows of hitting because hitting is hard. Don't tell the pitchers I said that. But hitting is one of the hardest parts of our sport, and so just managing the highs and lows of that and trying to be as consistent as possible. And I think Taylor does a great job of that. I think she's matured through the years of just accepting some things and giving herself a little grace when things get a little too hard for her. But I'm excited because I do think she's seen the ball well and very confident and just excited to see her senior year.
Coach, as we wrap up here, I just want to know, you're going into opening weekend, but what do you really feel is this group is able to do? Like, I know you talk about goals and it's one game at a time, but when you look at this group of women, where do you think they can go this season?
I think we definitely can push for, the top of the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is a big wild card right now of who plays who and what it's going to look like. Not everyone gets to play each other where we've never had that in the past either, but we've played a lot more of the teams. And I think our conference is so big that there's just a lot of teams not playing each other. So you never know what that's going to look like. But I, for sure, if we keep doing what we're supposed to do this preseason, I see us at the top of the Big Ten and competing right up there at the Big Ten tournament, and then hopefully going on to regionals and seeing what we can do.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for your time and excited to watch your Gophers and you this spring.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I thank you. And you can send them two in right now.
All right. Sounds good. I'm gonna have to pull the chair up.
I love it. Pulled up the chair for you and everything. Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Excited to spend the day with you. Coach was just talking about your team, and both of you have been such staple part of the programs as now you're already in your upperclassmen years. But I want to know from the both of you, what has this experience been, kind of from an overview, being able to wear the Minnesota softball uniform?
Yeah, I can go first. I just think honestly, like to be here, it's a great experience. It's the chance of a lifetime. Like not many people get this opportunity to play at this level. And I think that's something that remind myself every day. Like don't get frustrated. Don't like little things happen, but like I'm lucky to be here and it's been one heck of an experience and I couldn't be more thankful. And I just think not only has it made me a better softball player, but it's also made me a better person.
Yeah, and kind of going off of Taylor, like I grew up coming to Minnesota games, so it's always kind of a dream to represent Minnesota and just being able to like play at the highest level possible while also earning like an incredible education as well while playing under an amazing coaching staff and with amazing teammates is something that I definitely would not trade for the world.
You talk about the teammates. I would love for you guys to just elaborate on this team culture this year. I know Coach mentioned a few activities that you guys did, the sauna into the polar plunge, but what has this fall and winter been like, getting to know the new faces and just spending so much time with one another?
It's incredible. I think this year, prior to my years past, like we've spent so much time outside together. Like, you know, you want to be a team and you want to be friends on the field, but I think that starts off the field, and we've done a great job on building that team chemistry off the field so that when we're on the field, we're communicating and we've got each other's backs.
Yeah, and then also like we lost a lot of seniors last year, and we only had four freshmen come in, two transfers, and it was also about like welcoming them in with open arms and just trying to make Minnesota like a place where everyone felt appreciated, no matter their role on the team as well.
When you bring in six new faces, you know, you're bringing in first years and also talented transfers. But I would love to know how you talked about you welcomed them with both arms. How have they just elevated your team already in personality wise, play wise, all of it?
I think they weren't afraid to step up and, you know, rise to action and get the job done. And I think that's great because when you're a newcomer, it can be a little intimidating to step in here with all these returners and be like, I got to get the job done. But they've had no fear in doing that. And I think they've still been doing an incredible job of just knowing what they need to do and being there and, you know, talking to all of us. And
Yeah, and I think we as a team have talked a lot about like it doesn't really matter how old you are, how long you've been here, that if you're gonna make an impact, then you're gonna do it right away and you don't need to like take a back seat just because you're a fresh face. Um so like Taylor said, I just think they like day one came in and were just ready to get to work.
I love that. And especially when you give them that freedom, is when they feel like they have a voice from day one, which is so important. And Taylor, you've obviously felt that in transferring yourself at some point. Now you've been there long enough where, you know, you feel like a Minnesota Gopher through and through. But just talking about your transferring and how you've hit the ground running from the second you got on campus, you know, double digit home runs both years. How have you continued to elevate your game? Because let's face it, there is so much film out there right now, and people are always looking to find weaknesses in hitter swings, but you continue to, I almost feel like, outsmart everybody.
yeah. So obviously, I know like when I came in my sophomore year, there wasn't much film on me. So they were kind of just pitching. Now, like you said, there's more film. So I think for me, it's just being able to cover all parts of the plate. Like I can't have, like, obviously, you're going to have weaknesses, but knowing that I can get to all parts of the plate is very important in my offensive game.
And one thing I want to talk about when you bring up the offensive game, you know, I played at your stadium. I know what it's like when you guys hit home plate and the crowd coming up and they're cheering their Minnesota cheer. What is that environment like for you guys to have every single home game?
Yeah. Well, one thing that we talk a lot about at Minnesota is just like tradition.
Mhm.
And one thing that we do after every single run is they do the Minnesota Rouser. And personally, I wouldn't want to be on the opposing side of that. I just think that's really intimidating. And
You
also
don't. It is intimidating.
I just think it gives not only like the opponents like a little threat, but also it gives us more energy as well that we can just kind of bounce off of to like keep the momentum going as well.
Yeah, going off of that, it plays a lot into momentum. I think when you have that energy behind you, you never know if you're winning or losing, and it's just like we're going to keep going. And then just also like I've played at several stadiums, and I just don't know if there's one that compares to our fans and the energy they bring to every game.
I would completely agree with that. And when you talk about the Big Ten expanding, you guys have an opportunity to host Oregon and have a lot of other talented Big Ten teams. One, what are your feelings with the conference expanding? And two, how much are you looking forward to that series as well?
I think we're excited. It's always fun to face new competition. And I just think, like, I don't know, we're Minnesota and they're going to come play in a cold environment. So, I mean, we're the ones used to it. So.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Oregon has a successful program as well, so that's going to make us only better, regardless of the outcome, especially with like UCLA, Washington. Same with them. Having the opportunity to play big teams like that is only going to help us in the long run as well.
And even just looking at your first few weekends, you guys head to Tempe, Arizona in just a few days. You have, another great opportunity with those games ahead. You play Utah, you play Arizona State, and tons of talented teams. What have been the conversations like just heading into opening weekend? How are you guys looking forward to finally being able to play somebody else besides each other?
It's always exciting because right now we're in the indoor and we're scrimmaging each other, and we say every weekend we're facing the same people. Our pitchers are facing the same batters. It's always exciting the first weekend because you're like, wow, I don't have to face my teammates. So I think we're just ready to roll.
Yeah. And I was even talking to Coach Ritter like earlier today, and she was like, are you ready to get outside and start playing? And I was like, I'm honestly just ready for new hitters. Like, personally, I'd rather be on the same team with Taylor than against her. So that's like the biggest part for me is that I'll have all of my familiar faces like behind my back instead of just facing them every single time as well.
Can you talk about just this pitching staff as a whole and just how you guys each bring a unique perspective, but even being able to have a head coach that really specializes in pitching herself?
Mm-hmm. I think that all of us have our own specialties, and Coach Ritter is able to like utilize all of them to even set up other people's successes. So I think like personally for me, like I'm a drop ball pitcher, I'm a down kid, and also off speed. So like that pairs really well with up pitches, and it's more about like what does say Macy Richardson do that is gonna like she'll go in, have her success, and I can go in and just tail right off of that. And it's not just about like this pitcher is gonna throw high velo and that's it and whatever, but it's about like making sure that all of us are owning our own like what we're good at and not just like trying to make each pitcher kind of similar to each other.
And I want to talk to you a little bit more because, you have an incredible drop ball. And it's something I've always admired. I didn't throw a drop ball very much, but where I think I'm so impressed with the way that you throw it is you almost throw it with so much confidence that you don't care whether the hitter rolls it over because you have the defense that you do behind you. How much does that just feed into you, knowing the women that are behind you to give you confidence within that pitch?
Yeah, I'll always like preach about my defense because I truly wouldn't be the pitcher I am without them. Like I know that if I roll a ground ball to Kayla Chavez, that it'll be an easy out. Like I have so much confidence with them that I can throw all my pitches with conviction and not really care about if it's put in play. I know like my defense is gonna have my back no matter what. Like I know each of them would run through a wall for me because I would do the same for them.
And just the way you talk about your teammates, like you can't make that stuff up, the type of trust that you have within another and having each other's backs. I want to know what this group of women is like off the field. What do you guys love to do when you're not at the softball field all day, but you're still spending time together?
Well, okay, I can go.
I'm like, I love the laughs. Now I need to know.
Well, I live in a house with 6 softball players.
Wow.
And like, granted, that's not the entire team function, but we always have like karaoke nights and nights where we just like color and make each other meals and stuff like that. And that brings like us way closer as well. And then we'll have like the team over whenever we get the chance, at least, to just either watch movies or just completely just chill out. Like, it doesn't ever have to be like this whole ordeal. It's just kind of hanging out at the house.
A big thing for us too is like we like our sweet treats. So like some of us will go, like Culver's is a hot spot for us.
Oh.
You know, we'll go get some ice cream from there together and, you know, just have fun, enjoy it.
There is nothing like a concrete mixer, I
Yes.
must say. But I love the fact that you guys have a house, because I feel like it's probably the perfect meeting spot for
Mhm.
just having a revolving door for any softball player to walk in at any time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's where whenever we have like recruits and stuff, they always come over to just kind of get a feel for what the team is like outside of softball, because that's obviously what's going to help us on the field as well. And yeah, we always just come up with little activities to do like with the recruits, and even if it's just our team, we'll do like Galentine's and stuff like that to like maybe if I'm not super close with someone like and I pull them, then I'll become a little bit closer with them.
And those type of relationships that are fostered so much fall, winter, those are always the ones that I feel like shine through when good softball starts to happen in spring. And when you guys look at this team and the bonds you've already built, what do you think is possible for this group of women? I asked for coach, but I'd love to know just from the player's perspective as well.
Yeah, I think we're always going out there with the goal to win every game. And I think we have the confidence to do that. And I think that's going to take us far this season.
Yeah, and I'll like Taylor said, winning is always the goal, but it's also like learning from our mistakes. We talk about that a lot and how each of us can handle the hard to like grow from that. And I think, like you said, like the ability to do it throughout the season is gonna help us in the long run a lot.
And as we both wrap up, you both have had unbelievable careers already. But even as you go into this season and you start to think about the legacy you want to leave, what is really both special to both of you of how you want to leave Minnesota softball within a better place with your legacy?
For me, it's more about being like a great person rather than the player. Like, I don't want people to remember my stats. I want people to remember me as a teammate and as a leader. And just that I welcomed everybody with open arms and I was kind and I was a great leader on the field.
Yeah, very similar to Taylor. I just want someone to be able to like look at me and say that they're a great team, a great leader, and just someone that you could point to at any given time and just be like, that's what it's supposed to look like. And being open with all the newcomers, and just being someone that would simply do anything for their teammates on and off the field. It's not, like Taylor said, it's not about the stats. It's you'll remember like the people and the teammates that you had, not the stats that you had like down the road.
It's more than softball, and you can tell it's definitely that way for you both. Well, ladies, I've absolutely loved having you on. If I'm lucky enough to be able to come to the stadium this year, I'm bringing Culver's. You can bet that for everybody. But thank you both so much for just taking the time and spending it with me.
Thank you.
And best of luck this upcoming weekend. It's coming right around the corner. And if you missed any part of this interview, feel free to go back. You can find it on Softball America's YouTube page. Join us on on3.com/softball to watch any of the other previous schools. We'll be back tomorrow with Purdue, and then we'll finish off on Monday with Wisconsin. Once again, from Minnesota Softball, this is Sydney.